they're like second parents to me.
Not only their generosity, but their kindness, because it's not just what they do, it is how they do it and how they make you feel as they're doing it.
Well, I first met Chuck Schwab almost a half century ago. That friendship has matured and grown quite deep over the years.
It's really extraordinary if you step back and look at the durability and the breadth of their giving. They started the foundation in 1987. This was before the internet, before iPhones, before AI. And they've evolved with the changing times, but stayed anchored to a set of core values. And we can look back now and see a legacy of almost 4 decades of giving, and giving with really transformational impact.
We've partnered on a variety of things, most recently on an initiative to improve financial decision-making and education, centered in higher education, but branching out from there. We started a new course at Stanford, which had never been offered before. The biggest thing to me has been these first-generation low-income students who come to me in my office hours or after the quarter's over and say, I can't thank you enough. I've become the financial advisor for my family because I'm the only one that knows anything about this. And that really was something I hadn't anticipated, and it's been extremely gratifying.
When I arrived at the museum, Helen was one of the first trustees, collectors I met. Chuck became the chair of the board of trustees in 2007. There's 11 extraordinary years at the museum, kind of golden age of the museum. And Helen really had extraordinary expertise. I mean, she has a fabulous eye. There was that kind of nice division of labor in their family.
Chuck and Helen have been great as partners and coming along with us. And so one example of that is that we were challenged with building housing in San Francisco. It is one of the most expensive places to build. And so what the Schwab challenged us with and what they helped us with is how do we think about a different financial model for building housing and building affordable housing in the Bay Area. And they were along with us every side of the way and pushing and holding us accountable. It came in about 40% of the budget and about 60% faster. And so where it takes, again, 7 years to usually build a building in San Francisco, it took us 3. Before the building opened up, I had an opportunity to take Chuck on a tour of the building. And he showed up with his iPhone or with his phone, and he was taking pictures. And I have, in all of my time, I'd never seen someone who had just invested in something that was going to be no benefit to them, and they were extremely happy about the finished product and what it was going to do and what it actually meant to people.
So Helen was just a fundamentally important trustee for many, many years. And a member of the executive committee, and clearly one of the leaders of the board. I mean, we were joined at the hip for so many years. So I remember going to Chuck's office, which is a somewhat intimidating experience. And I remember sitting with Chuck in our first meeting together, and he said, Neil, he says, what's the big idea? What's your big ambition for the museum? And what are we going to accomplish during my time as chair of SF MoMA? Well, I thought I'd been dropped in from heaven, parachuted in. I mean, no one had ever asked me that before. And he would very typically say, all right, that's really interesting. I'm going to, and this was so Chuck, he said, I'll go home this evening and discuss it with Mrs. Schwab, and I'll get back to you. And then he'd come back and let me know what I had said that caught their fancy.
When Helen and Chuck first started the foundation in 1987, their first big initiative was to establish the Parents Educational Resource Center in San Mateo to provide support for families with children with learning differences. And that early work really sparked a revolution in research, education, and treatment. Chuck being so willing and so open to talk about his dyslexia publicly has had a huge impact on removing the stigma associated with learning difference. He often gets stopped by people on the street, in an elevator, in a restaurant, who thank him for that and tell him what a difference it's made in their lives. And that's incredibly gratifying and rewarding, and I think something that Helen and Chuck are really deeply proud of.
We're absolutely thrilled that Chuck and Helen have decided to give the proceeds from the Simon-DeVos Prize to Tipping Point Community. And with those dollars, we're going to go out and double down with organizations that are helping people have the opportunity to prosper. What we've always been about, and what I believe the Simon-DeVos Prize is about, is helping people help themselves. And that and the way I think about that is that we're an organization that give hand-ups, not handouts, and making sure that we use this prize to do exactly that.